In this episode, we will be gathering resources for nether exploration whilst discussing issues faced by young men around body image and fitting into society. Let's get into it. Welcome back to another episode of Hardcore Hard Talk, where today we have just finished coming back from some shipwrecks and found a village, and I want to turn these diamonds into a pickaxe and finally make our way to the nether, because I realised that it's taken a long time for us to get there so far. So yeah, and off screen from last episode, and if you haven't watched last episode, please feel free to check it out. Hardcore Hard Talk episode 6. I made this ladder go all the way down to the bottom to our mob spawner, what we had before, and I managed to find this pit of lava. So this is what I'll be mining today to get the resources for another portal. Get that nice and quick. Hopefully there's no cave here or skeletons or anything that I don't get shot off, so that would be extremely bad. But yeah, if you are enjoying the series, please be sure to support by liking, subscribing, all that good stuff, and commenting. We have had a couple nice comments recently, so I thank you for everybody who's commented. But in this episode, I really wanted to talk about something that bugs me, and it's that I think that young men, particularly vulnerable men, get exploited a lot on social media. You usually see this with red pill influencers, and I'm mainly going to be talking about body image today. As I touched on in the last episode, I had extremely... I suffered from body image or body consciousness for quite a large spell of my teenage youth, where I was quite a skinny child, and I always felt like I wasn't strong enough and wasn't big enough, and growing up as a teenage boy, you know, these things get pushed onto you that you need to be a man and all of this. And I think something that I see now a lot more, because I'm now 24 and social media wasn't as prevalent in my early teenage years as what it is now, where I feel like it's ingrained in everybody and where it's plastered to everybody's hands. I really think that there is an issue with how the gym and how gym life is associated with young men. And I recognise that going to the gym is healthy and it's part of your routine, and you can lead a healthy life by it. However, I feel that there is a much sort of sinister underlying motion going on, in that I find that, especially with this red pill pipeline, as I've spoken about before, is I find that young men are pushed into seeking validation from a certain type of body. And if you're not strong enough, you won't be accepted, especially when you hear it about, in regards to finding a girl, especially online, speaking about how women will only value if you make lots of money and you're extremely attractive and you've got a good body and all of these things. And I think it's a very dangerous way for young men to get exposed about body image. And I think that gym culture, so not talking about regularly going to the gym and keeping yourself active and healthy, I think gym culture of the fact of pushing to look the best and pushing to get the six pack and to get ripped and get, you know, the best body that you can possibly get. I think gym culture is promoting a lot of body dysmorphia in young men. And I would go as far in some cases to say that gym culture is an eating disorder. And I think that's quite a strong phrasing to put out there. But I would say that my main reasons behind this is that there was one point where I was really interested in cooking on TikTok, and my TikTok feed was filled with recipes and people making nice food. And the amount of times that I would hear, protein, get this much protein in one serving, and we're going to add protein powder, and I used to go into Tesco's and there would be no cottage cheese available because cottage cheese would be used by all of these TikTok, gym talk, whatever you want to refer to it as, influencers. And it was insane that there was such a craze and such a demand for something that used to be so readily available has now sort of become scarce or had gone crazy, which I know that you can suggest that this may just be a trend, and with trendy foods on TikTok and social media as a whole, you do find that these things will get picked up very quickly and then they run out of them in supermarkets. I get that. But I think the way in which gym talk refers to how you should structure your meals and how you should eat, I think if it was in any other light, especially if it was targeted towards young women, more specifically than young men, I think we would have a real issue, and there would be a lot more people complaining about it, because I think it does promote almost an eating disorder-like way of thinking and obsession around calories and protein. And it's not even nutrients. It's not even just the basic nutrients. And this is where I think it draws the line between gym talk and just healthy lifestyle living of going to the gym and working out. Because there is no mention of the nutrients gained, the fibre especially. There's a large increase in young people of having digestive problems, and that fibre is one of the things that is recommended by the NHS that isn't being consumed enough. But there is no mention of these more important nutrients, I would say, sort of vital for living. Protein is vital for living, but in the levels in which you're seeing in these recipes is almost an overconsumption. And I think it's really dangerous to promote this as like a healthy way of living, because it's not healthy. I think any obsession over calories and what you're eating does become an eating disorder. Whether it is fundamentally more damaging or less damaging than another eating disorder, for example, bulimia or anorexia, is besides the point. Because if you are encouraging young people, potentially vulnerable people who are very impressionable, who want to be the best, who want to be seen by their friends, who want to be popular, who want to be attractive, if you are pushing this narrative and this way of living and obsessing over this way of eating and I think it's obscene. And like I said before, I pride myself in knowing when stuff is applicable to say, because you could say that, well, women have been suffering with body image through media for numbers of years. And my point is to not take away from that. I do agree. I think women are much more subject to criticism of body image through media. And that also, especially by young men or older men. I think men are the biggest betrayers of women in the way that they speak about them in regarding to body image and attractiveness and overall how they look. But I think even though there's one group that suffers more, it doesn't mean that you can't speak about another group who is also suffering. And I think that young men specifically targeted through social media are or will be beginning to struggle. Like, I can speak from first-hand experience. I can speak about how I perceived myself and how I viewed myself as being less valuable because I wasn't this type of person, and I wasn't the perceived image that society or that these social media influencers were holding me up that I should be. And yeah, I'd be curious to know if anybody else finds any relevance in what I'm saying. I'm sure I'm not alone about these things, but I think that it's definitely something which needs to be paid attention to. Because as we approach to social media becoming an integrated sort of fundamental into child's lives, not like it was when I was a kid. I didn't have social media until I was 13 or 14. So I've just gone into secondary school at that point, and social media hadn't taken off, whereas there is obviously the ban that is coming through to protect young people, but bans don't mean that people will actually obey them. So I think that it's really good, and I think it would be very responsible to recognise these issues that we're facing in the current day and prepare for them for the future, and not try to act and reverse these changes when it's already too late, and when we're already finding that these men are becoming more ostracised and being more critical of themselves. And for what real benefit? Not really. So, yeah. Oh, there's zombies everywhere. That'll be. I believe that will be a good point to end today. I completely was focused on speaking that I managed to mine 60 obsidian, which I don't think anybody's really ever done. So, yeah, I'll leave this episode here. And please, I would really love to hear everybody's opinions on this. I have no idea what that noise was. I would love to hear everybody's opinion on this, because it's something that I feel very strongly about. And I don't think it's necessarily getting enough attention. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you did enjoy. Please be sure to like, comment and subscribe. And let me know your thoughts on today's topic. And next episode, we'll be going into the Nether. And hopefully not dying. Because I'm aware that with iron armour, I do probably stand a very good chance of not surviving. So yes, thank you again. That was HardTalk, episode 7. And thank you very much for watching. See you next episode.